Welcome you all to another session on forests. Let me begin with one of Gandhiji's quotes. What we are doing to the forests is a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves. In one of the previous sessions, we had a look at the significance of forests and the alarming rate of deforestation. Today, we will see in detail what are the causative factors of this extensive deforestation. We will also try to see what could be the possible remedial measures. Let's first see some case studies. Number 1. Desertification of hilly regions in the Himalayas. Degradation of once fertile land into desert-like land is called desertification. The Himalayan region faced extensive felling of native trees which were replaced by some selected species like the Pinus roxburghi, the chir pine and the Eucalyptus camedulensis, commonly called the river red gum. These plants were chosen as they gave good yields of resins and essential oils which are of commercial value. But this has changed the physical, chemical and biological properties of the soil. It has resulted in poor nutrient cycling, loss of original rich germplasm and invasion by exotic weeds. The net result was a drastic reduction in soil fertility. Many areas like the West Khasi region in Meghalaya, Kumaon, Garhwal and Ladakh are now facing the problem of desertification. Another case study is that of the subnormal rainfall in Nilgiris in the Western Ghats. Scientists have documented an alarming decrease of rainfall in this region in the past few decades. If this pattern continues, there could be major changes in the flora and fauna of the Nilgiris. We will now see what all are the main causes of deforestation. Number 1. Shifting cultivation. It is also called jhum cultivation. It is a traditional agroforestry system practiced mainly in the northeastern parts of India. This involves felling of trees and burning that part of the forest area for clearing it and cultivating crops. The cropping is done for a few years, after which it is shifted to a new region of the forest. This kind of temporary cultivation causes great damage to the forest ecosystem, which would have taken hundreds or thousands of years to evolve. All the huge and old trees also would have been destroyed by this system. Next comes explosion of human population. This in turn puts a great demand for materials like timber, fuel, paper, etc. To satisfy the growing needs of people, more railway lines, houses, factories and roads had to be built. For all these purposes, more and more forests were cleared. Third is mining. Large areas of forests have been cleared to get minerals from ores. Most often, after mining operations, these lands become barren and could not be used for agriculture as the soil fertility would have been lost due to addition of chemicals. Overgrazing. To tend to the greater needs of humans for milk, meat, etc., the number of livestock have also increased. Most of the forest areas near villages are extensively used for grazing. Beyond a point, this overgrazing tends to destroy forests. For example, if a cow eats a few blades of grass and leaves it like that, the plant will regrow fast. But if the grazing is extensive and if the cows don't even leave the roots behind and eat off everything, then regrowth will not happen. Fifth is forest fires. Fire is the worst enemy of the forest. It literally wipes off every living organism, plants, animals and microorganisms from the forest. It destroys the soil texture also. Next is dam building. Dam building has resulted in significant loss of forests in many countries. This is an inevitable phenomenon as there is always a question of which is more important, providing water and electricity to the people or protecting forests. There is a lot of debate going on in this particular topic. Dams built for hydroelectric power or irrigation have submerged forests and have displaced tribal people whose lives are closely knit to the forest. The whole ecosystem and the microclimate of that particular region will change drastically after the forest is cleared and the dam is built. India, being a tropical country, was blessed with abundant forests and a rich biodiversity a few hundred years back. Over the years, many people started exploiting these natural resources. For example, during the British rule, a lot of timber was extracted from our forests for building British ships. Indians had no say in this. After we got independence, Indians felt that now that the British has gone, we have a right to use our forests in any way we like. The following years saw India's residual forest wealth dwindle sharply. In fact, timber extraction continued to remain the Forest Department's main source of revenue till the 1970s. Then we started realizing that if the rate of deforestation continues like this, soon there will be no trees left at all. Then started the movements of afforestation. Forests are relatively unexplored territories for policymakers per se. The local people, including the tribals, are the ones who will know the forest the best. The Government of India realized that without involving the local communities, no forest conservation program would become successful. Local people will only support greening an area if they can see some economic benefit from the conservation. One such informal arrangement between the local communities and the Forest Department began in 1972 in Midnapur district of West Bengal. It was called JFM, or Joint Forest Management. The National Forest Policy of 1988 provided a formal structure for community participation through the formation of village forest committees. They participate in restoring green cover and protect the area from being overexploited. Within 2 years after its initiation, more than 60,000 JFM committees were set up. These committees were managing over 1.5 lakh square kilometers spanning 27 states in India. The share for the village forest committees vary from state to state. For example, it's 50% in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Orissa, etc. and 25% in Kerala. In many states, non-timber forest produce or NTFPs are available for people free of cost. Extensive cattle grazing is another major issue. Some states have stopped grazing completely and some have opted for rotational grazing schemes. This ensures that new grasses will come up from the stumps of the grass eaten by cattle, which in turn will help in forest regeneration. In the Shantiniketan model developed by Rabindranath Tagore, emphasis was given more on the harmonious association between humans and the environment. Ceremonial tree planting and celebrations to enjoy and appreciate each season were carried out in the university. He started Vriksharopan way back in 1928. Actually, if one looks at the history, the first and the foremost movement against large-scale felling of trees was done by a Bisnoi woman called Amrita Devi near Jodhpur in 1731. Her family and 360 villagers were axed to death while they were clasping the trees. I hope all of you would have heard about the Chipko movement or the tree hugging movement. It was started by the tribal women in Uttarakhand in 1972. Later, the noted environmentalist Sundarlal Bahuguna and Chandi Prasad Bhatt gave momentum to it. They undertook a peace march of 3,000 kilometers from Srinagar in Jammu Kashmir to Siliguri in West Bengal to protest against tree felling. Later, the Chipko movement spread to the central India, Karnataka, Rajasthan and the Himalayan hills. In Karnataka, it was known as Apiko movement, which gave thrust on 3 areas to conserve, grow and rationally use trees. We have a program called Vana Mahotsava every year in February and in August. Young people should come forward to take more interest in such activities in an effective and sustainable manner. I'd like to conclude by quoting Robert Swan, who is the first person to walk to both the South and the North Poles. Here it goes. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. So my dear students, it's high time to wake up and understand the looming threat on our environment. If each of you try to make a small contribution towards making our earth sustainable, that itself is a great job. With that note, let me sign off for the day. Goodbye.